Good afternoon, everyone. It's the Duchess of Unicorn, and this is the YouTube channel. We do have a Twitter too, and I'm slowly trying to build that up. But if you want to check that out, it's still the Duchess of Unicorn. And if I can remember, I'll post a link. So it is Tuesday. It is Christmas Eve across the world, and I'm in the United States. And as you can see, I have just popped online just to find out if there's any new and interesting stories currently trending on the Duchess of Sussex and the Duke of Sussex. Now, before I begin, you know the deal. So far, it is all my videos are just for entertainment. They're my own opinion. I don't profess to say they're the news of the world or that I know everything or anything personal directly told to me by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. So let's just be honest. This is just for entertainment. It is me looking at current events and digging just a bit deeper and offering my opinion on what's going on with the royal family, especially in terms right now of Meghan Markle marrying into the royal family to Prince Harry. So it's neither that I'm for or against them. I'm just giving my opinion as I see it and as I feel it. And of course, I'm going by research, looking at the current reported news, the different outlets, and kind of summarizing all that as well. So, so today, TMZ, another gossip type of, I'm sure you have it everywhere. TMZ in America on my browser is showing Queen Elizabeth omits photos of Harry, Meghan, and Andrew during her speech. Now, I did not yet listen to the speech that Queen Elizabeth has broadcast as she does every year for, I think it's since 1957. But what a pretty room. I love gold anyway, but how regal and royal does that look with the green, the deep green, hunter green, this beautiful golden tree, huge tree, and all these artifacts from her history. It's amazing that somebody, here's what I think, first of all, is amazing about the British people, or in general, the Queen and her family. So here's a queen with royal lineage from way back when, and I think it would be more exciting to find out how that lineage started. And it always starts with somebody doing something grand. Now, I don't know about great, but grand. So some war, that's one, and something was taken over, and the jewels were stolen, and the artifacts were stolen, and then the person who did the grand gesture and won the prize and won the war is now owner of all those riches. And if you can carry that over for 1,000 years of your history in terms of putting it forward and putting it forward and putting it forward and putting it forward, that's a pretty incredible feat. Not because I'm in awe of it per se, because it's such a good thing, but it's really interesting when we look at 2019, the very end of this year. We look at how many people have no real tradition. I don't know where tradition has gone, even in my own family with my own children. It's my desire to have at least one or two traditions carry over that I instilled in them, that my mother's instilled in me, and her mother has instilled in her. But today, the generations believe they have a better and more noble task, and that the rest of us are crazy. So it's really interesting to see how the royals have pulled tradition and continued to bring it forward. So that leads me into how the Queen has had her speech in 2019 in December and has omitted those lovely photos on her desk in front of her that omit Prince Harry and Meghan and even little Archie. So if this was a since I didn't see the speech, but if the speech said nothing, if the speech said nothing else, and we couldn't hear anything, and in the volume you couldn't hear, or words wouldn't go on the screen, you would just look at this photo and say, this woman is looking forward to the people that matter. In other words, the core people that matter in her family. Are we now to think that going forward, Meghan and Harry are, well, on the outs? Or, dwindling on the outs? Are we looking to see Prince Andrew just kind of frailing off to the side and into oblivion? A very rich, very wealthy, powerful oblivion. But, it's not a bad deal to commit crimes and then just still be wealthy and still hang out and still have all the wealth and privilege and access to that you've had your entire life. So it's not a bad gig to retire in his sense of the word. He stepped down. Honestly, really? So anyway, stepping down in the royal family really is probably somewhat of a deal for them. Like it's a talk about town, but in the real world, nobody cares. He'll go off somewhere and we would care less if we ever saw him again. And the flip side of that is now he gets to hook back up with the Duchess of York and they can live their crazy, wild lives without any of us really interested. And he's still wealthy, still has access to power. Just we won't be seeing it as much. And we really, in America, we never really saw much of Prince Andrew anyway. Yes, I remember some photos when you have gone back for the royal family and look and you see that there's other people in the family besides Princess Diana, Prince Harry, Prince William, Kate, etc., and of course Charles. You know that he's the Prince of Wales, and you think, yeah, obviously the core people have always been front and foremost. And little regard to Prince Andrew in my country. We just weren't that into him, So if America was dating England, America wouldn't be that into Prince Andrew, and he probably wouldn't get a second date. Now, Prince Charles, he teetered on being accepted, I think, and I'm just generalizing from the American people because of who he is and that he married Princess Diana. And so he's vaguely, if America was dating England or Britain, we would be thinking maybe there'd be 5 dates, So in popularity speaking, Prince Charles of Wales, Prince Charles of Wales, he is that accepted, and we're accustomed to him, and he's cool, okay? He's cool with us. We are okay with Camilla. Basically, these are the royals that are kind of being phased out, and we all know this. They're going to go off into the royal sunset, and who's really going to be mega important to most of us are William and Kate. And who's always been really in the forefront and interesting, and most of us know, is Queen Elizabeth. And I think she'll be sorely missed around the world because I think that she carries a certain, I don't know, it's more than class, it's more than grace, it's that she's interesting as well. She's interesting. She's the longest reigning monarch. She's a woman. We don't know, we can't even fathom the power that she has and that she can wield. And we have been privy to some of those stories. So we really kind of honor her and the fact that she's held traditions for her whole life and have brought them forward, whether they were tiresome or whether they made sense. she knew and had the foresight. And of course, I know she has staff that helps her remember those things, but she looked into the future of the monarchy. She didn't just look at the here and now. And on that note, not seeing Meghan and Harry and little Archie leads me to wonder a few crazy ideas I have in my head, some thoughts and views. Like, the Queen doesn't strike me per se as a mean woman. Not because she's a little old woman and with gray hair and she's, got wisdom and we should respect our elders. It's not only that. It's the fact that I'm sure she has a iron fist. When she needs to call upon those things, I'm sure she does so with great decorum. And for her to sit here at Christmas after a wedding in May for her grandson, her grandson, and have him marry a biracial woman and, try to be graceful with that and accepting and see where that goes, if it's going to go anywhere. She has now completely, in just a little bit of an eyelash, omitted Meghan and Harry and little Archie, if he's really even their child, from the entire, our mindset about what the royals are about. So I'm thinking, as a biracial woman here in America, I'm thinking, wow, Meghan fucked up. There's no other way to say it. There is no way to sugarcoat it and no reason for me to sugarcoat it. We're all adults here. And by the way, this is a video that is not for children. This is for adults only. If you're a child, please leave. The Queen. How stunning is this little bat of an eyelash move that she just made? Checkmate. Right? I mean, she doesn't have to discuss it. She doesn't have to bring up names. She doesn't even have to give side eye. She's so eloquent with this move in her beautiful royal room. Just put a few pictures over to the side here. Don't even refer to them, because you see, you have eyes. Look, as you use your eyes, you see her husband, you see Prince Charles, you see the royal family that's going to next be king and queen, and their children, and you just go, okay, Queen Elizabeth, okay. So it tells me that a few things, if I'm going to do commentary and opinions and views and throw my whole ideas into the mix, I would say that Meghan is out. And that's for all intents and purposes. She's out. But she can be out in various ways, right? She can be out in various ways. Okay. My idea number one, she could have been out. This could have been pre-written. She could have been out from the jump start. This could have been a whole interesting dance orchestrated by many people, or maybe a few people, maybe just a core group of people that are important. Meghan, maybe Harry, maybe the Queen, maybe somebody else, maybe advisors, maybe PR. It could be orchestrated right from the start or shortly after the start. There's a saying that, oh, what a web we weave when first we practice to deceive. And that continually pops up as a sentiment every time I research or delve a little bit into the royals in terms of Meghan marrying into the royals. Again, I have nothing against Meghan prior. I didn't even know she existed. By the way, food for thought. I'm an American. I've been in this planet more than 30 years. And, well, I've never heard of Meghan Markle until she married Prince Harry. Food for thought. I am an American woman. I am over 30, and I have heard of the British royals. I have heard of Prince Harry. God knows I might even have heard something of Prince Andrew over the years, the many, many years, but it wasn't important. I certainly remember watching the wedding of the Prince of York to the the Duke of York to the Duchess of York. I remember Fergie very well, but she was easily dismissed because I was still at that age where it really wasn't, I wasn't interested in it. It was just something that, history you'd note. So I never heard of Meghan Markle. So until she married in the royal family, she wasn't even relevant, if that makes sense. And that's my first thought, that it was all orchestrated. It's still being orchestrated, but it's orchestrated. Contracts and agreements, PR people and agendas. Truly a chessboard. And then secondly, maybe it wasn't orchestrated per se with the Queen's involvement in that sense. Maybe she really just said, okay, you love who you love. You seem to be very crazy for her or interested. She seems to love you. Let's go ahead and see where this goes. I'm game. Are you game? We're all game. I say so. So we're all going to do this. Maybe that's the scenario. And then at some point, Meghan went nuts. Meghan lost her ever-loving mind and decided, I have no idea to be part of these people. Absolutely not. And then she just said, well, while I'm here visiting, I might as well merch some stuff. Let me just call some people or tell my PR people that I'm open to merching some wares from designers and influential people, and put me in front of Beyonce and Jay-Z too, because they're American royalty, extra. Let's just put us, out there. And while I'm here, I'll kind of grab and go. And so that's the one theory I have, the one thought that I have of how this is all being stirred in this big giant pot of nonsense. And, that's like an offshoot. And then two, maybe Meghan just outstayed her welcome. I mean, you can imagine this. You're a little bit of a bitch. You're a Hollywood actress. And there's other actresses like Stephanie Powers coming out and saying, you're not much of an actress. I've been in this game for 40 years and I've went from the beginning and to where I currently am, and we're real actresses. We are real actresses, and we're going to speak out against you because you're making us look bad. You're not an actor. You're an actor. You want to be an actor. You've been trying to be an actor, and you've been selling yourself out, going on yachts and being some type of escort. I know that I use that term loosely. It's like she was like a date for the rich when they came into town, or they were going somewhere and they wanted to have some company and somebody who has, a decent personality, which I'm not saying that Meghan doesn't. I think that she's probably pretty fun, and she's, a California type girl. I grew up on the East Coast, so we don't have that same vibe. If anybody who's listening from abroad, or California and East Coast, not the same vibe. If you've ever been here, Californians are like sunny and loose and like happy because they have all that sun, and they're like, we can go to the beach and we feel the beaches are our stewardship. We love the earth, and we also love consumption and cocktails, and seeing if we can outsmart the next person and be better than the next person, but we still try to stay close to the earth. You know, that's, California, people, and we're so plugged in. And on the East Coast, we're like, I don't know, Cape Codish. We're like, home and hearth, and we're like, want to be cool, we're trendy. And there was more, and California's spiritual too, so you're spiritual. And I find that we're foodies, and there's foodies all over the world, but the vibe is different from the East Coast. It's more citified, it's more, sometimes I like to say gentrified. But it's not. That's not the right word. I think we're more plugged into the aristocrats and say Californians, because Californians are free and easy and earthy and crunchy, and we're all loving people, but there's a difference between the East Coast and the West Coast. And California, she's a California girl, and that's how I see her. And so I think she brings a vibe in that she's all that, because her mentality has been, that I'm, worth so much, and I'm an actress. And I think that she's convinced herself that she's worth so much because she is an actor. Doesn't Even though she's a B actress, even though it's a B channel, like I can't remember watching USA. I think that's the channel that she was on, that Suits was on, since I was like, I don't know, 18. I mean, it just doesn't resonate with Gen Xers, so to speak. It doesn't resonate with us. And so, maybe that she took the gig because she has to pay bills, and it wasn't so bad because she ended up making millions of dollars. Not a bad thing. And all those free trips, there's other YouTubers and other articles that refer to those trips that she took, all these trips all around the world that were 1, 2, 3 days, and she's over here and then she's over here. They seem to be very suspect to like vacations, like really probably not the real vacations that people would take, that, save up their money and go on vacation for 4 to 6 to 12 days. It was more like sporadic trips that she just said, let me grab my bag and go. And so with that being said, I just think that she came into the royal family and she wanted to make the best of it, like the best of her time, because I think she also knows her own limits and that she rubs people the wrong way. I think if you rub people the wrong way, you are aware of it, especially if you're here on the planet for 40 years, because we all know she is not 36. She is more advanced, like between 35 and 45. So they're just cutting those numbers on the edges just to kind of smooth it over. And you can do your own research, and I welcome you to do that. And you'll find a lot of misconceptions that you can kind of iron out, and a lot of new information that can add to your current opinion. Such as mine is that I am somewhere split down the middle, but it's clear to me that she is not at the level of the royal family. And on the flip side of that is we shouldn't really think of the royal family like better than either, because they still are what we think, human. At least some of them are. And that's kind of like a little conspiracy theory joke. But in all honesty, we should not think of the royal family as untouchable, like we're little peasants and the royal families are closer to God or demigods. We shouldn't really have that feeling. That is so archaic and feudal. We should bring it to the forward. 2020, it's going to be in January. And, we want to look at the royals like, okay, you guys are people that have like all kinds of issues, because stuff happens in life. Anytime you get two people in a room together, there's going to be topics brought up. There's going to be differences of opinions. At some point, there's going to be things happening. Sparks will fly. And add more people to that, and then add more people who think they're entitled, or more people who think they're above, or more people who think they're above that. And you're definitely going to have sparks fly. And so my second or third thought is that not only was it orchestrated, but perhaps it was to the Queen's favor. She's been around quite a while. I mean, being alive 90 some odd years and looking the way she does, I feel like she has all her faculties about her. And if she doesn't have all her faculties, she certainly has faculty in her presence that work for her, that can help her come to logical decisions of a royal. So she's not ever going to forget she's a royal. She's not ever going to forget her stance. And she's never going to, in her lifetime, she's never going to just drop her guard down and just be like laissez-faire. That the Queen doesn't strike me as that type of person, you know? And if I was to speculate, if Meghan was to be able to stay in the royal family and continue on and become a fixture of the royal family, which I really doubt. I mean, she's at year 2 and people actually loathe her. And it's not just the public people that loathe her. It's across the world, and it is the general public. And when you mess with the general public and mess with journalists, you are on a very skinny rope. And now you're messing with the royal family themselves within the walls. Because I have read articles that say that Meghan has been keeping a diary. She seems the type anyway. But she's keeping, very California, keeping a journal. She doesn't hide it. Maybe somebody found it. I think I read that somebody found it, or somebody got wind of that she's writing a diary. With all Prince Harry's secrets that he's told her about his family, just being in a relationship, kind of normal, and things he shared, and of course, first accounts that she's experienced. She is keeping this journal, and it's becoming very suspect. So if you could hold that somewhere in the back of our minds as we read these headlines, we can really think what kind of debauchery is going on inside the inside of the royal family. So people can't imagine marrying into the royal family and just being she's a true commoner now. She's a true, like, she's an actress. She's just struggled. She was a waitress. Whatever she did, she did so many different jobs just to stay in acting. That's how important it was to her. She didn't decide, well, I should actually just go and get an actual regular 9 to 5, and because I'm not doing that good at 30 and 35. But instead she turned her sights directly on the big hit, the big Jabowski. Going for the last single royal. Okay, go ahead for him, because we're not going to see another single royal. Well, there's no more sons. There's no more sons. So, you might see another marriage with Prince Harry, but you're not going to see another royal male marrying. So she went for him, and she made sure all her ducks were in line. And this was very, very orchestrated, and just to meet up with him. And it worked. I don't know how it works, since we've all heard that, I mean, it's really odd, because you hear things from the States that, like, Prince Harry was, prejudiced in some sort of way, but yet he did all this work in Africa. But then we know that Africa was colonized by the Europeans, and that didn't go well over with African countries. And they took over these countries and made them into the Commonwealth. But that's by force. Okay. And so, but yet Harry goes there and he loves Botswana and he loves Africa and he feels more at home. You've read that here in the States, and it's close to his heart, but we don't really know why it's close to his heart. Maybe that's because all the diamonds and gold and all the resources in the African lands have made his family very, very wealthy. So maybe he has some kind of connection with that there's great money and abundance there. And the people are pretty much enslaved there. They're enslaved by their own selves, because they've been slaves, and they have also been enslaved. and that's physically and spiritually, mentally. And so, you have these European wealthy people who own their country. And in essence, if you really want to be truthful, own every single certificate of birth for every human being that is born in their owned country. So, and that's a little bit conspiracy theory, but it's a lot of truth as well. You know, it's really true. We can say that the queen is a figurehead, but there was a time that the royal family wasn't just a figurehead, it was the owner of the people, and the things that are within the borders of those countries that they own. Let's just be frank. So when you see a real commoner coming into from America just out of the blue, like literally, and coming into the royal family, you have to wonder how that went down. Because we know the queen doesn't sleep on her power. She's not afraid to use it. She has it. She doesn't have to exercise it all the time because, it's like anything. When you have something, you don't really worry about losing it. If it comes to the point where you have to think like that, then maybe that's what you're doing. You're going to think about it and you're going to strategize. But I think the queen allowed her in, and perhaps Meghan had ulterior motives. And there's another scenario. Maybe Meghan didn't at first have any ulterior motives to the height that they have been played out in the public. Maybe she didn't, but maybe when she married, she got into the marriage and realized they are maybe hateful against her. Think about it. I don't really see Prince Andrew thinking she's, pretty awesome. And when you saw them in public, he paid like zero attention to her. Zero. Look back at the wedding. And if you see Prince Andrew, he hardly even bats an eye to look up in her direction. That's one thing. Another thing is that even when they're in the same atmosphere of each other, his back is always often turned towards her. So, which indicates to me that, either he's really obtrusive, he's like really unfriendly, or she's really unfriendly, or both, or maybe they already have met in the past behind closed doors and they're just really going out of their way to put some distance between themselves so as not to bring attention to the fact that they may actually already have known each other in the past, met up on yachts and various places with the wrong people, and seemed fine at the time, but now that she has climbed up the certain ladder and she's in front of him on his terms, maybe there's some pushing back, like, I don't know you. But you can really see that he goes out of his way to almost put his back to her, to step in front of her. He's always away from her with his back turned or his shoulder. So, and she doesn't try to ever speak to him. There's no eye contact like she tries to make with Prince William, for instance. I noticed also, well, since I'm mentioning it, even with Kate, if she's not put in an article like going to see a tennis match and she's not have to sit with Kate, if you see them in any other type of atmosphere, like a carriage ride or on the balcony, they are not even looking at each other. And I don't think that it's not Meghan doesn't want to. I get the feeling that she's been shunned. And that's, again, my opinion, just based on what I'm seeing in other articles I'm reading and videos and news reports and tabloids and all the stuff that Meghan's camp is trying to put out. So, all in all, Queen Elizabeth's speech really isn't that important. What was super important, because I didn't hear the speech, but what's super important is that actions speak louder than words. And what I'm looking at, without even hearing her speech or hearing her verbiage or her words or in between her words, I see that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, because I want to call her the Duchess of Sussex, but then it doesn't really feel right. Because she but I know it's a title and she kind of doesn't really deserve a title. It's like, you're not even being Prince Harry's wife in terms of the duties of the royal family. And, Prince Harry really, I've grown up watching Prince Harry, just like Meghan did. Don't let her fool you. And you kind of feel like you know about him enough to be like, he probably needed somebody or deserved somebody, and he did. Everybody does. He deserves somebody who loves him. And you just don't get the love vibe with Meghan. You might get some type of warmth with Harry, and I don't even know if that's applied because we're so busy studying Meghan's actions and how she's coming across, and researching her, because a lot of people don't accept her for races, color, not gender, status in life, and she's out of left field, and she's American, and it's kind of like way out of tradition, and people are like, of all the women in the world, how did you get with this one? But there's a lot to be said about Meghan's tenacity, and that's stuff that people don't like when you're that arrogant. How is she much different than Prince Andrew? Outside of being born into wealth, you wonder. But I also don't feel Meghan is powerful and a mean, aggressive person in the sense that she's mean. I just feel like she has to really assert herself amongst people who were born into an assertive, aggressive, privileged, wealthy, powerful lifestyle. Meghan maybe came in there thinking it was going to be okay. It's just a little old lady queen and just a little old man king, king consort. I forget, but Prince, I forgot his name. And I usually don't forget his name, but the Prince of Edinburgh, I think. But anyway, Prince Philip. Okay. Yeah. I feel like I'm getting old. Maybe she just thought they were like two little old people, and she was going to be able to smile and get herself past everything, and they're going to forget anything about her, and they're not going to know anything about her nude photos or her wayward life or her I need to smoke reefer pot, whatever it is that she did. And all the things that she did that accumulate her life, that they were just going to be like, well, we can forgive it. It's no big deal. It's okay. Or maybe it's okay because it's Prince Harry. But if it was Prince William, that'd be a different story. I don't know. We don't know those things. But if we try to read between the lines, we see a big statement with this speech that she gives every year. But this year, 2019, she did this little bat of an eyelash and said, "You are dismissed." Since she heads up everybody, she basically has dismissed Meghan Markle just by photos and kind of in a roundabout way. And what she's telling the general public, only God knows, and her, but what we see, the general public, by this speech, this photo I'm looking at right now, is I see that there's a core family here, and it consists of Prince Charles and Camilla by default, and Prince William and Kate and their little ones, and of course Prince Philip as being, the legacy along with Queen Elizabeth. But going forward, you see that it looks to me like Prince Charles will be King Regent in a few months, several months. I think it's like 18 months. And if he wants to, in 18 months, if nothing is wrong with his health, or if, he is up to par, because you never know, things happen in, an instant. We're not promised tomorrow. And then it'll be Prince William. And Prince William will have to step up and be king. And I think that he will be a pretty good king. I mean, in terms of me looking afar over to a land that I've never been and just forming an opinion, I think that Prince William has the decorum and the values and the character that is acceptable going forward into the future and making the family modern. I do believe that they, Prince William and Kate, are more modern and woke than the Meghan Markle and her fake woke, like her applied woke. Because you're not really woke if you treat people ill. You're not really woke if you don't have genuine interest in other people, no matter where they're coming from, but you can hear them, but you might not love it, but you can hear them and be accepting and then move on. I think Prince William and Kate do that. I think they have a real passion for some things that are concerning the world today. And I think that everybody has room to grow and change. But with me, and that goes for Meghan and Harry too, but what we see is Prince Harry ruined because of this marriage. And it does remind a lot of people, I know it reminds me of Wallace Simpson and the past prince who was king for a minute. It does remind us of that. And we have to stop and scratch our head and be like, wow, how can the queen have allowed history to repeat itself? Because she was known and her mother was known to dislike, actually hate Wallace Simpson. I think they were thrown out of the country too, and they went to go live somewhere else. And he wasn't king anymore. He stepped down, and that's how Queen Elizabeth's father became king. And the stress, I think, put a closer end to his life. And we don't really know that because he drank and smoked, you know, it was an incessive habit. And so, you know, although her mother and Queen Elizabeth, I guess, have come to not like the fact that Wallace Simpson, you know, married, I forgot his name too. He's unimportant, but in reference, I should know his name. I'm sorry about that, but I did forget it. But he had married an American actress, and I don't know her level of actress because, again, it's another lady that I never heard of. And many of us probably never did if you don't research it. But it looks like history repeated itself. However, Prince Harry, I feel, is kind of marked and ruined. He still has a chance to change the future, especially with this picture thing and this statement that the Queen is making. Prince Harry has a chance, but I feel very strongly, my sense tells me that he will have, you know, the divorce, and he will, it's kind of a prediction, divorce, and then he will, you know, go back with maybe Chelsea Davy, maybe anyone who is more authentic and more in line with his values and his traditions. And not, that doesn't mean they have to be stuffy and way back from, you know, a throwback from 1915, but he's going to have someone that has the care for the traditions that his family has created, and that is willing to take some of them into the future and still be called modern. Whereas what we're seeing is we're seeing a defunct plan to liberate Meghan Markle and basically bring the royal family into some type of modern state, but they're really not. I think they're being afflicted by the applied modern, you know, monarchy. So whoever wanted the modern monarchy, it probably doesn't go together, and it seems pretty defunct. So personally, her coming out here with these pictures and lining them up as such like this says a lot in this beautiful room, shows, you know, her history and the depth that she has, just as like a person, a human alive with her history still in her hand. So instead of romancing the royal family and the imaginary ideas that I have, I will say that this speech was impactful for a lot of people who are wondering how she's taking the Prince Andrew thing and the Meghan thing and dealing with it. And I would say that she's not bothered by it, but I would say that she, of course, as usual, handles everything with grace and dignity. And I feel like she's making a statement without even a side eye and not even a bat of an eye to worry about Meghan, little old Meghan. She's just being like, we will always be here and we will always have this blood. We will always have this dignity and we will continue to strive the way we have for thousands of years, whatever it is, hundreds and thousands, hundreds of years. And I think that Kate and William are really the modernizing of the royals. And just because the rest of the world is how they are, I really don't feel that any royalty in the world needs to change completely 180 at all. I feel like change is over time. And I feel like Prince William and Kate are right on time. And that this photo, this speech this year, 2019, from Queen Elizabeth, says so much, omitting the photos of Meghan completely. And unfortunately, Harry, which means she's not taking no crap. She's not going to even, Harry wants to get on that boat, he's going to have to sail with it. And perhaps when he says, hey, I want to get off this boat, I feel like maybe the royal family will most likely be there for him in some type of major capacity. But until he says that and comes to his senses, he is on his own. And like he's on his own, so is his Royal Sussex Royal Foundation, which really sounds Meghan-y, because Invictus Games sounds more like Prince Harry and things doing with children, and the stuff that he was doing prior to Meghan really seems like that's the vision that he sees. So the Sussex Royal Foundation, I wonder if that'll be dissolved when they get divorced. So until Harry raises that flag and says, I want off this ship, you all were right, this bitch is crazy, then I feel like he's going to have them there when he does that. But until then, he's going to have to go on a very odd and lonely journey with Miss Meghan Markle. Thanks to the Queen, she did a beautiful job with side eye without giving side eye. All right, that's my long-winded discussion, opinion, commentary on the royal family and what I'm seeing in the United States on my browser through TMZ today. That was the most, to me, that was the most significant. I thought that was an awesome thing she did. And this little photo, I'll have a separate video on this really strange Christmas card that did not feature Doria as everybody had thought. And so I think that's that was something put out by PR that we all picked up on. Yeah, Doria might be in it. I don't know why we were so susceptible to it, but maybe we really believed Meghan would do something cray by putting her mother randomly in a Christmas photo for the royals. But to see the three of them with this baby who looks, I'm just going to say this, looks nothing like either one of them. And what's up with this black and white? What is up with the black and white photos? I don't know. There's something that it needs to always be hitting. Everything doesn't need to be in sepia. Everything doesn't need to be in black and white. And to have this like this just says to me that this is some photoshopping going on here. But I'm going to wait to talk about that till after the holiday. All right. Merry Christmas, everybody. And if I hope to post this today, but if I don't, because I'm the sole person cooking in my home today for Christmas Eve dinner, and Christmas dinner. So if I don't post it, don't be mad at me, but I do hope you come back, because I promise I will be working on getting better and better at these videos and going back to my desktop. I really need a microphone for my desktop. So as soon as I can get a microphone to my desktop, that's about maybe helping get more subscribers. That way I can get myself a decent microphone for my desktop and do videos a lot better than I'm doing. But please bear with me and let me know if you have any comments. All right. Merry Christmas. Bye.